Aragorn is male perfection. When it comes to what should a man be and what should a woman want in a man, the perfect example every time in my mind always goes back to Aragorn. Now I know what some of you are thinking. Oh, Amira, he's a fictional character that doesn't exist. That's just silly. But hear me out. Throughout modern history, many people, from celebrities to politicians, investors, entrepreneurs, holy people, they have been lauded over, adored, and simped by the masses. But too often, over time, their faults have come to light, with a lot of those faults completely overshadowing their legacy and the work they've done. And this happens because we are people. People are flawed and can lead lives and have personalities that are very different from the way they are portrayed to the public. I'm not talking about basic desires of privacy and safety, but the murkiness that can come from people touting ways of living and being to others that they themselves do not follow. The quintessential do as I say, not as I do mentality.
Do as I say, not as I do.
While some of us are very lucky and privileged to have positive role models in our lives to look up to and emulate, that is not the case for everyone. And in today's society, one of the biggest voids we are seeing is men, particularly young men, that are trying to understand what it is to be a man. Did you know that the most common Google search among young men is how to be a man? The young men of today are struggling to find a partner, their purpose, their role in our ever-evolving society that has unfortunately left men behind while promoting and building up women. I'm not saying the quest for equality among the sexes is wrong or unnecessary, but by all accounts, as the promotion and elevation of women and girls sprung up during the 70s and 80s and continued into the 90s to present day, the sad repercussions of that left boys and men behind, to where now, today, we have so many young men feeling lost, unprepared, and sadly, fatherless. This fatherlessness, as explained by author and expert Richard Reeves, is creating a dad deficit in which men are not being taught the general roles that usually come from having a father around. And that is having devastating consequences for young men, but in particular, young boys growing into adulthood.
And that can be seen in various different ways. So 1 in 4 fathers don't live with their children. If parents split up, they're much more likely to lose contact with their fathers and with their mothers. And so 1 in 3 children, if their parents split up, don't see their father at all after a few years post the separation. So this fatherlessness is something that's very, very specific.
What Reeves is bringing to the forefront is imperative for us to not only acknowledge, but to work on repairing. Having higher and higher levels of fatherlessness is going to lead to possibly irreparable damage, which leads to many more concerns for not only the young men coming up in the newer generations, but our society as a whole. My biggest concern for young men, coupled with this dad deficit, is the vulnerability it creates. Vulnerability to be taken advantage of and fed BS from self-serving individuals that are using this moment of vulnerable and impressionable young men to make money and a name for themselves, regardless of whether they actually help them. I'm talking podcast bros, the manosphere, alpha male content that is being consumed by these young men just looking for guidance, how to man, or even just someone to follow. Which is why I bring it back to Aragorn. He is, in my opinion, the best depiction of man. For those men looking for a role model but don't have one, look no further. And for the women trying to figure out the green from the red flags, here's your list of greens. Aragorn is strong yet sensitive. He can be fun but also serious. He takes his oaths seriously and believes in honor before everything. He doesn't see himself as perfect, nor does he boast. He's not a womanizer and holds the one he loves close to his heart for all to see. He is understanding and caring, willing to put his life on the line for others. He can fight to the death with all his might, yet still be able to show true emotion, whether it be sadness, anger, rage, defeat, helplessness, and remorse. He is a good communicator and a good listener, knowing when to speak up and when to take a step back. He's open to different ways of thinking and the different paths people take, giving people the space they need. And one of my most favorite dynamics of Aragorn's character is how he is to Éowyn. He sees that she is growing to like him, but he doesn't lead her on, being honest of where his heart lies. But he's also quiet and understanding when he sees that she is preparing to fight in battle. He doesn't try to stop her and doesn't tell on her. He sees that she is capable of holding her own. Honestly, Éowyn deserves her own video, and if you want to see that, let me know in the comments. Aragorn is a leader when necessary, but doesn't demand it, and at times runs from it because he is afraid of the power that he has watched so many become corrupted by. And while yes, He is a fictional character. His characteristics and emotions are real. They are emotions that exist in the real world, character traits that people can and do possess. So for those men watching, if you or someone you know is trying to figure out what it means to be a man and don't have someone you can look up to for whatever reason, consider Aragorn. And for the ladies watching, let's remember that men are in fact struggling, which means we have to do our part. And that encompasses having realistic standards of men that are not based on a desired lifestyle, but what the most important aspects of a relationship are, which is communication, kindness, appreciation, and open-mindedness. If we want that prince or princess treatment for ourselves, we have to be willing to give it in kind. So go find your Arwen, your Aragorn, your fellowship of friends, and embark on the journey that is this crazy world together. Or just watch Lord of the Rings, get lost in the fantasy, and never forget...
Potatoes! Boil them, mash them, stick them in a stew. Lovely big golden chips with a nice piece of fried fish. Even you couldn't say no to that.
Thanks so much for watching. Let me know in the comments what your thoughts are, and if you liked this video, don't forget to hit that like button, subscribe so you don't miss out on new videos, and I'll catch you in the next one. Stay safe, take care, and be kind to each other.
What about second breakfast?